it's all about collaboration. It's about being on the same page.
Always trying to go for the goal. And when we don't have the ball, we want to press as high as possible to get the ball, because when you have the ball, you score the goals.
One of our mantras is that you cannot expect to achieve your own dreams if you're not willing to help others with their dreams.
The purpose of our style of play is to develop players for the highest possible level.
The style of play is an idea, it's an intention.
طبعاً اللي بيفرقنا من بقية الأندية أو بقية المنظومات إن إحنا أسلوب اللعب ده بيجري في كل مكان في Right to Dream.
Extremely aggressive. We're constantly wanting to be on the ball, so we want to have control.
Our competitive edge will definitely be our style of play. Our style of play is developed of two primary outcomes. It's developed of the trends in modern football. We want to play a game for the future.
In order for us to do that, we need to be able to see or guess what football would look like in the future, because that is the game that we are developing players for.
Yes, I think our style of play is really detailed and really thorough and thought out. I think it's a really challenging style of play for the players, which is a good thing because it allows them to really maximise their development. Cognitively, there's some real challenges. What we think is this allows players, as I said, to have really good pattern recognition, to have good anticipation of the game.
أظن أحسن طريقة إن ممكن نوصف بيها الستايل اوف بلاي بتاعنا هي يعني كلمة واحدة that comes to mind وهي unity، لأن إحنا في الستايل اوف بلاي أساسه الفريق over individual.
By having a really clear framework, it allows players to, one, be really creative, two, it allows them to problem solve to a really high level. We try to accelerate player learning. I think that accelerated learning and putting that challenging style of play and being consistent and working every day hopefully kind of gets players a little bit ahead of their competition.
On the other hand, we are also a football community with the focus on developing youth players.
ممكن نقول ان السبب الاساسي ان احنا بنعرف نديفلوب اللعيبه بتاعتنا في الستايل اوف بلاي بتاعنا ان الكور بتاع المنظومه ان احنا بنديفلوب holistically.
Bottom line, we want to produce players for the top 5 leagues and play in the Champions League and represent their countries. And to achieve this, you need to know what the game is requiring right now, but also where the game is going.
The Right to Dream style of play benefits young players because it forces them to take initiative of the game. No hiding, be brave, be relentless.
So we have 4 offensive principles. In O1 is the build-up phase, and in O2 is where we try to keep the ball.
So either we want to attract pressure. We say to the opponents, come, we like you to pressure us. And in many ways that's easier when you are leading. And we want to do this because obviously when you press, you always leave spaces behind you. So either we attract if the opponents want themselves to press, or we seek pressure.
The way we play, we want to progress. We're not just passing the ball for the sake of passing the ball. We're progressive. One of our values is to be effective. And to be effective, we have to have purpose.
And in O3 is where we try to break through. And in O4 is where we get in the box and then score goals.
Always trying to go for the goal. So not just putting passes together to put passes together, but always with the intention of scoring the next goal. So in general, what we try to teach the players is always to try and get the ball for as much of the time as possible. So we always want the match to be on our terms.
We really want to make sure that we have the numbers. So in offensive phase 3, we want to make sure that are we going to be breaking through central or are we going to break through wide? If we're breaking through wide, do we have the numbers in the triangle? Are we either even or do we have numbers up? If we don't, come back around. In those areas, we really want to find players that are breaking lines. So again, are we facing forward to be able to play forward? But also what type of movements do we have in our front players to bring their line back? The whole objective is to get underneath them.
Yeah, so when we're talking about accelerating the game and creating chances, we talk about when there's no pressure on the ball, having deep runners is something that we think is really, really important. So players to run in beyond to stretch the game. We talk about like signals for breakthrough. So one would be when there's no pressure on the ball, running forwards, as we mentioned before. Another might be, can we have an offensive turn in one of the 5 front pockets? So can we receive in there on the half turn to go forwards? And we also talk about a change of ball speed being another signal for breakthrough as well. So 3 really important ones there. So if we're in our own half and we're balanced, we look to try and show inside where we have numbers. For a couple of reasons. One, we're well organised inside, and the second being we don't want to give away throw-ins and corners. We feel we have more control by showing inside. Some of the other principles we talk about are if the ball was to go to the wide player and our fullback goes and presses, can one of our defensive midfield players drop in between the centre-back and the fullback to prevent a runner running through freely? Or if the centre-back is closer, he or she might do that job, and instead the midfield player might drop in between the 2 centre-backs.
We are space-orientated when we're defending, and that's something you'll see right across all of the whole organisation, whether it's first team or whether it's the academies. And to be space-orientated, you have to anticipate and perceive space.
We want to impact the flow of the game so that it's played a bit more on our terms and with a bit more initiative in terms of what we want to see.
When we go high, then the opponents, they will pass from the keeper or centre back, and then from there, then we want to lock them in that side of the pitch. So we cut off vertical half of the pitch and can do what we call a blind side pressing. So if they play out wide, we lock the backward pass to the keeper, so they can only play forward. Then they can play forward with a pass in between our lines or a longer pass, but we are ready. And then the intensity is, of course, very, very important, because the more intensity, the less time on the ball the opponents have.
Another principle we have within that is to set traps so we can have double pressure or triple pressure. We talk about closing gaps between units, so if our front 3 are pressing really aggressively, we need our midfielders to be closer to them, and we need our back line to be closer, and the goalkeeper as well. And then we also speak about when we win the ball in transition, can we go forward? Really important part of our play.
So our women's team has been quicker to adapt it, and if you look at the last year, how our women's team has developed, also with players from the academy, and then suddenly Danish champions with a young team and a lot of players from our academy.
I think it's an extremely exciting time for football. I think everything is growing when I look at women's football, and when I think about our role and what part we play at Right to Dream and FCN, it's about developing players that can succeed as the game grows. We have now, with the academy in Ghana growing and more girls getting involved in there, and then of course Egypt and San Diego, we now are creating so many different pathways for players.
In relation to our style of play, I don't see that big differences. It has been easier to implement because they already have the boys and men as role models.
لو كله هيدescribe طريقة اللعب بتاعت Right to Dream بكلمة واحدة هيقول it's enjoyment.
And I think when we think about making sure that everybody in the organization is on the same style of play and being coached in the same way and being provided the same opportunities, I just get excited because I can't wait to see what type of players come through.
Anybody who plays sports wants to win. We want to win, but how we win and who we win with matters. Well, I mean, we're going to be brave to play. I think I've said that over and over again, and ultimately talk is cheap. I understand that, but I also have I have no problem saying it. Like, we're going to be brave to play. When teams come to press us, we're going to find solutions under the press.
The purchase of San Diego has been a great one for us. I think it falls, our style of play is very favourable for the MLS. I think a lot of MLS fans and San Diego fans will see a very high-paced game.
That also means we're going to make mistakes early on. So you're going to see a few things. You're going to see exciting football, but you're also going to see a team that takes risks and has to pay the price for those risks at times, but believes in the style and believes in the process, so knows that those mistakes, when made in a meaningful way, are going to lead to more wins in the future.
If we play a good game collectively, our opponents, they will play against 13 or 14 players, and we all expect that can be tough for our opponents.